This is a potent zone at Boom, where we're really emphasizing our ability to expand the boundaries of psychedelic and conscious counterculture. And many of us have been witnessing the evolution of Psytrance over the past couple of decades, and how the mainstream has influenced the music that we hear, and even how Psytrance has extended into other genres of music. So today, up next, we've got a panel that's going to be part two, or a follow-up rather, to a panel that happened in 2012. And this will involve Steve Hillage and Miquette of System 7, also Ben Watkins, Juno Reactor, and Regan from Nano Records. And they're going to be looking at how the evolution of Psytrance has changed, what direction it's going, and maybe even if there's a possibility for this culture to influence social change, which is one thing that we're really driven to do, at least create a platform for interfacing with new ideas and making connections around the world to actually facilitate change. So I'd like to introduce our tour, part of the Boom organization, who'll be moderating the event.
So welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all here, not in the dance floor, it's here. So we are taking our time to be together and thinking and sharing about the whole, let's say, psychedelic trance culture. And we are very honored to have System 7 and Regan here. So please welcome them properly. So Ben is on his way to join us on the panel. So I welcome you all, and I thank you all on the behalf of Boom to be on part of this panel. We are with people that have been contributing a lot for the development of Psytrance. Regan as the head of Nano Records, which is one of the most important labels in the last decade of psychedelic trance, the house of many of the most important artists, and also an independent label that has been striving a lot to deliver high-quality music with a lot of diversity. So thank you so much, Regan, to come back to Boom.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And we also have System 7. Words are not enough to describe how much influence these guys have been on the 30 years almost as a name of music and of electronic music. We are super honored to have them again at Boom. And also very honored to have them on the panel. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're actually still buzzing from playing a couple of hours ago on a dance temple, so...
All right, so I can start. Did you guys listen to them? Did you dance? Nice, so that's good. So we are lucky enough that System 7 and Regan, they played already, so they just have time to enjoy the festival. I can start with you, Steve, about, you've been involved with the music scene for many decades, from the 70s, and you witness from the very core, let's say, the advent of psychedelic culture on the music. And as we all know, psychedelic music is very wide. It comes from jazz with Sun Ra, it goes to funk, it goes to techno, it goes to rock. There is a huge diversity of psychedelic music worldwide. How do you see the main differences as an artist in the way of artists looking at the psychedelia as a culture to express themselves through music, compared with the 70s, 80s, 90s, and nowadays?
Well, that's quite a big question. Well, psychedelic art, psychedelic music is all about the link between artistic output and human consciousness and the expansion and development of human consciousness. Obviously, this was jet propelled in the 1960s with the sort of whole revolution of LSD, etc. And we were very much involved in it in the 70s in the group Gong, and then our own things. I think psychedelic rock music went into a kind of doldrums in the 80s, and we were part, in a way, in London of the sort of move from psychedelic art musically moved to electronics. It was actually in the sort of early to mid 80s it first started. And then obviously that had a new explosion with what was sometimes referred to as acid house in the late 80s. And then it made a particular evolution into what we now call Psytrance. So for us, it's just a sort of direct line, really.
Yeah, and it's cool because you've been participating and co-creating with people as diverse as The Orb or Derek May, and also a lot of psychedelic trance artists. So do you think that and I can extend also to Miquette, the whole creative status of Psytrance nowadays, you think is as rich as, for instance, in the early 90s, where everything was very new? How do you compare both decades, let's say?
Well, it's lost a bit the novelty factor, but there weren't amazing events like this in the 90s, so you could say it sort of matured and got onto a new level. One of the things most amazing about Boom Festival is this incredible sense of community and harmony with all the people here. I mean, it really is totally inspiring. And, if that is a reflection of where we've come to with the Psytrance music movement, I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing. And, let's keep going,
Woohoo! Want to add something?
No, I agree.
All right. Regan, you have been also very active on the development of the Psytrance, with a lot of artists, with you as a label, involved in the UK, involved in South Africa. You have always been very important on, let's say, on the globalization of Psytrance, bringing up artists from South Africa to be played worldwide. How do you, let's say, tell us something about the beginning of the scene in South Africa and how did it reach there? Because it was one of the most important points in the world ever, always. It has always been an epicenter of Psytrance. Tell us something about the social impact of the culture over there.
I mean, in Cape Town, particularly where it's really strong, and obviously it's grown massively around other parts of South Africa now too. When it was mid-90s, as the Psytrance scene, Goa Trance was coming into South Africa, I remember very clearly, and there were a couple of DJs coming down from overseas, bringing this music. Small parties started to evolve, grew bigger, got more popular. But I think also the timing of the end of apartheid as well was really an integral for us as well, because as a nation, people suddenly felt really free. Yeah. And it was perfect timing to have this expression of, oh wow, okay, we can all party together, we can really get along. And I think in that spirit, which is naturally within the Psytrance, the Goa Trance scene, globally anyway, and I hope it continues to be that. This fell into place. Mm-hmm. And then, as it evolved, we've got the beautiful nature and location, so the parties became very popular. Currently in Cape Town, it's probably more popular than any other dance music, because who'd want to go to a nightclub when you can go to a beautiful outdoor venue and spend your weekend there? So I think the tying in of nature and this continued sense of community. There are a lot of people who are there regularly, like Boom. We come here and we see friends that I've seen for 10 years, and we come back and, hey, how are you doing? It's that same sense why we come here. It's all people joining in. Besides the fact that it's a great party, in Cape Town. We've also got, and I think it's also worldwide, there are some events which are more family, more psychedelic, and others which are slightly more pop. Still the same music, but they're different organizers and promoters who are approaching it in a different way, with different sensitivities. And we're lucky to have a lot of the organizers in South Africa. Everyone communicates, there is a family there, even at times when, like any families, people have arguments, but people get through it. And there is a lot of working together, and I think that's what strengthened it massively. We have heard in other countries, people having, promoters just putting events on other guys' dates just to mess with them, kind of thing. It doesn't really happen thus far, touch wood.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. So I think we can learn a lot from that globally as well. As you guys have done, you're a great organizer, like working with Azora and coming to agreement and stuff with the dates and stuff. It's beautiful. It shows that as a community worldwide we're working together.
Yeah.
If we can work on that level, surely we can work on every other level.
Good. Yeah, one of the things that also Psytrance has been developing so wide is a huge lifestyle, social, cultural phenomenon that has always been very peripheric to normal music industry standards. So there is no superstar DJs, the music sales are very few, there is not the industry level of agents or publishers or all these sort of aspects that the normal, let's say the regular genres of music have to follow. So in a way, we all as a culture, as festivals, as artists, as labels, we've been always, the contact with the people and the artists and the promoters have been very strong, has been very deep, has been very solid, because nobody needs to obey to any standard rules on music industry. Why do you think this happens? Is this still it just shows that the underground has a long life, and is this one of the most genuine movements? I would like to hear from all of you guys about it.
Well, with regards to the underground qualities of the Psytrance movement and other underground forms of dance music, we wouldn't leave them out. It's a complete opposite of David Guetta. It's a complete opposite of what we now, unfortunately, have called for us EDM.
Yeah.
Electro de merde.
It's just so long may it stay like that, you know. Yeah, this great phrase that Laurent Garnier, the French DJ, said when he asked what does EDM mean, he said electro de merde. Very good. So I mean, you know, electronic dance music as a definition, that's okay, but what it really means in terms of sort of like a genre, EDM is very, very commercial, very like lowest common denominator, not for us. And what we do here is like the polar opposite of that, and long may it continue.
Miquette? Talk something about, you know, you're from France, so you know all the whole David Guetta whole thing. Regan? Just about how, for instance, you can have the aspect of a label owner that always been very independent, struggling for survival, supporting artists, and at the same time delivering quality music. So this is like an amazing underground principle, how to deliver good music without the music industry standard.
Yeah, number one, it's about passion, pure and simple. It's about love for the music, love for the community. The label's always been for us more of a collective of friends and family. We've always considered everyone that's involved in the label as family. And it's very simple, it's very easy to promote people that you love and music that you love. And that's my passion since I was a teenager. Just wanting, you know, I want you to hear this. You got to hear this. It's really good. And that's, I'm still doing that. And yes, it would be a dream come true to live off that, and it's not possible. You know, we do events ourselves, and we live off those, and those keep us alive, and food on the table, and it's the music is it's our art, it's our passion, and through those events we can, you know, keep pushing and keep promoting and sharing the music and getting it out there. Yeah, it's a great honor to work with such amazing artists and helping them to do that. But yeah, it's no road to riches, you know. But I think you're also talking about earlier about the superstar DJs and that kind of thing. Yes, there are DJs within our community who do have a notoriety, but there's very few of them who you won't see standing at the bar afterwards, who you can't go up to. They're not being rushed off with a limo somewhere, you know, they're accessible. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's not, most of the DJs I know, artists, you'll see them on the dance floor at some point as well. You know, they're here because they love it. They want to be part of it. Yeah. And I think that speaks, you know, amazingly of the culture and what we have going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Regan says. That it's like, for us, it's almost like a hunger, you know, and we've got this hunger. We want to keep discovering new things, new ways of doing our sound, new people to work with, new people to meet, new places to play. And we always say now, because obviously you mentioned we've been doing it for quite a while, if we don't have that hunger, we're not going to do it anymore. We'll just go and live on a beach or something, you know. we just got this need to keep on going, and what a passion, and it's very important. It's the key thing.
Yeah. It's on.
I think it has a lot to do as well with the technique, and in all these many years I've been doing it, this music, the techno, the way sound were made is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it permits people to do more and more, to play more and more in all those places like here or on top of Annapurna or whatever, and invite a lot of you people that are fantastic. And for me it has a lot to do with the machine as well, because if you need a room, like when I start synthesizer, you needed a room like this room to do just one chord. So that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, it has a lot to do with the machines.
Yeah.
But then I love the machines.
Technology is very important as well, for sure. Yeah, I think you touched one, and before we address questions to you guys, because what we want is to have this place where we all share ideas and experiences, not only them playing and you dancing. Now we can all come together and talking and thinking together. One of the things that you talked about, Regan, is the passion, the love, and for sure, also we as part of the Boom, there is nothing stronger than the love for what you do, because this scene is not a business-oriented thing. It's not something that you do with a perspective of any materialist thing. Is just about the love and the passion about the whole thing. Also, there is one thing about the passion, which is in comparison with different decades. For instance, psychedelic movement and culture has been very connected with some social change. In the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s went a bit down, but in the 90s, with the whole Summer of Love in the late 80s and the whole rave culture, psychedelia was once again in the middle of social change. Nowadays, we see our festivals, our psychedelic trance festivals, they are probably the only place where people from all over the world, they interconnect, they interchange. So the global culture is fully expressed in Psytrance culture and festivals, in events. And you have been witnessing for sure this in all your travels. Is this the vocation of Psytrance culture or psychedelic culture nowadays, is bringing people together from all over the world in comparison with which was in the late 60s or 70s, which was a very political approach? What do you think about it? Or is it just a way for people to have fun? What are your thoughts on it?
Please no. I'm all for fun. But I think if we got this amount of people, even less than this amount of people, at small gatherings, just the concept of having a gathering of people, if we've got music there as the character pull people there, whether they're not in touch with what's really going on in the world around them, but it's just an amazing forum to share ideas. And I think that's always been a key thing for me, is we've got this amazing musicians and artists, visual artists, who can do things that are going to excite people, but once together we can just move forward on with so many things, and coming together like this, meeting these guys. I've been to a few countries with them now, and they were my heroes, and now they're friends. And you get to a point where, and then you're sharing ideas, and you're learning from each other, and that's the same with everyone here. You might be sitting next to someone who you just met 5 minutes ago, and they might be telling you about permaculture, which you never thought of, and now tomorrow you're going to go for a lecture about that, and in a year's time, maybe you've got a permaculture garden in your back garden.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we keep that essence. I think that was one of the things that first attracted me to dance music. I think when I was into psychedelic music, we didn't have go yet, but it's the concept that there's more to it, you know. Even the music and the songs, the samples that get used. Also, I give some artists a hard time about it because, let's keep it positive. Let's put some positive messages out on the dance floor. You know, yes, it's great to have something funny and quirky or that's going to catch attention so people remember your song, you know. But ideally, I think if we can really all focus, just keep focus on the positive, just in our own little way. Okay, let's just a little bit of consciousness here, a little bit of consciousness there. That's what separates us from that EDM world.
Yeah.
You know, someone eloquently wrote on the back of a toilet here, remember your boom spirit, this is not Tomorrowland. And that's been going around my head the whole day. And I think that's what separates, you know, this kind of event and this community and the music.
Yeah.
You know, there's something different. It's not just made to kind of for radio hits and gone here today, gone tomorrow kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think most of the musicians as well ultimately want to communicate something, and they're all learning. Events like this, we have, you know, I think of this album covers as a basic example, working with various visionary artists, and then we come here and then musicians are sharing ideas with the visionary artists, and next thing those ideas are coming out in the music, and the musicians' ideas are coming out in the art, you know, and it's, you know, the extension of art as a collective again. It's a beautiful thing. I really think we've got to keep focused. That's what makes us special. You know.
Good.
Yeah.
The co-creation and the cooperative side and the interchange of ideas is for sure one of the most important aspects. Steve.
Yeah. Connection with social movements and social change and the need thereof. One thing very important in the 60s and 70s, in the underground psychedelic movements, there was always a big debate, a big division between people who thought that one should be hyper politically active and that music, particularly sort of drug-orientated music, was escapism and it wasn't doing anything and people were just wasting their time doing it. And on the other side of the debate was people who said, well, look, you know, the only way meaningful change can happen is if individual people are the change, you be the change. And so psychedelic music is actually a positive thing because it offers catalysts and triggers for people to sort of develop their consciousness and view of the world and view of their place in the world. Now, we were always more to that side of the debate. And I think, you know, that debate remains now. I mean, frankly, I don't see sort of, you know, going to have a violent demonstration fighting the police with sort of Psytrance in my headphones. I mean, that just doesn't work. I mean, it's daft, you know, and I don't even know if, you know, that necessarily is going to produce a change, you know. It's I'm more a sort of thing of an individual. You will be the change.
Yeah. All right, let's open the conversation. Who has a microphone for our dear boomers?
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering whether the panel thought that Psytrance has maybe become a religion, because Psytrance is my religion. I can assure you of that. And I don't know if anyone was here at Zora 2009 and Sonica Reloaded, but I set up a website called www.psytrancesmyreligion.com with the tagline, crowdsourced enlightenment, because I believe that Psytrance is a religion. And the reason for that is I'm not talking about Psytrance, the music necessarily, I'm talking about the state of mind that you get into when you're on psychedelics listening to trance music. And it was when I did Janga for the first time, when I did DMT for the first time, that it gave me like a personal epiphany. And that was that we live in a holographic universe, because it gave me the experiential proof of that fact through the visions that I saw, and the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, it was like a multimedia holographic PowerPoint presentation by some extra-dimensional intelligence showing me the effects of DMT and like psychedelics in terms of a series of like animations and visions, you know, with my eyes closed. And
Thanks for sharing.
but I have more, okay? I have more. Since then, and Psytrance, my religion, was like a social experiment, and the idea was you could register to the site, and when you did so, it would put a marker on Google Maps where you were on the planet. So on the home page, you would see everyone who was on the site, and you would fill in like a form to register, and one of the questions is, what is Psytrance to you? You know, is it a passion? Is it something that interests me? Is it, you know, it's a lifestyle? It's my lifestyle, or it's my religion? And then I had a text box underneath that which said, you know, why do you feel this way? And then I had another page which allowed you to slice and dice the metrics of people who had said what and, you know, where they were from and so forth. But the concept behind it is crowdsourcing. You know, we're crowdsourcing a religion. And the thing is, if enough of us come together and say that Psytrance is our religion, then it will become our religion, you know? And, right, get this, if you say that and it becomes recognized as a religion, we can then go to our individual governments and say, look, you know, we're doing psychedelic drugs for religious reasons. It's an inalienable fucking human right, you know? And we hack the system that way, you know? But, you know, I did that for a couple of years with the website, and then I was unemployed for a bit, so I had the like 200 quid euro server hosting fees come up, and I offline the website, which is a bit of a shame.
So thank you so much for sharing your religion aspect of Psytrance. Actually, probably some of you might know that in Brazil there is Igreja do Trance Divino, which is the Church of Divine Trance. They are in Alto Paraíso. But at least for us and Boom, we are much more about creating the individual and social awareness rather than the religion or the guru following. But I am sure what we all do as a Psytrance lovers is something very religious, very, very militant. Just give me a minute. We have a lot of people that want to share the conversation. Let's just open the conversation, please.
Hi, guys. Just wanted to say it's very evident that people have traveled for many, many miles across the world to be here. And I wanted to get the panel's opinion on the sustainability of festivals like this and coming together and sharing these kind of ideas. And I read in the Boom paper that there was given up until 2016 for investment to be founded to fund the rest of the Boom land. Is this correct? Yeah?
Yeah, there is basically there is a date until 2016 for the Boom to purchase the land, because the landlords they have this deadline. They gave us this deadline. Basically, that's it. So and we have to find a way to get it.
So my question to you guys is like, what do we need here to make this possible, to keep this continuing going and have this like information open to people so we can contribute in our own way, or have the conversations that we need to on the outside world to find the investment needed to continue this?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things for us as Boom team is that this space, we want to have a more permanent space where the whole Boom experience extends on a year-long experience. So if you look at sustainability, you want to have the whole time sustainability here. If you see arts, we want to have artist residencies. And for sure, after the Boom, there will be some communications about crowdfunding and others. I mean, we were taken by surprise. It was a few weeks ago when we got this notice. So the best is you wait with the Boom website what will be the novelties about the whole situation here.
And
it's no drama, because the Boom is made with a strong intention and a strong love. So we don't question that this will be for the Boomers and will be for us.
I have no doubt that this will continue, but is there a figure that is needed to maybe purchase the land, or you know, is there a target that we're working towards here to find investment?
Yeah, we have to purchase the land, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so is this information going to be public available?
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
can all
yeah, for
contribute
sure.
this?
After boom, yeah.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Thanks
Thank you
for
very
asking.
much.
Thank you for asking.
Hello. I've been talking to a lot of people over the past year, mainly in the UK, but also a lot of people from different countries here at Boom. And when people talk about the difference between the vibe or the feeling at free parties, maybe this is not maybe there's not such a difference at big festivals, but certainly at smaller events of maybe a few hundred people or fewer. People often differentiate between the vibe at a free party or one where you have to pay for, or illegal and legal. That's another way to look at it. So I was just wondering what your experience of that contrast, if you've experienced it, might be.
We like playing at big events, we like playing at small events, as long as they're sound and they're made for the sound reasons, with sound people, we're very happy to be invited to play. We don't have a sort of strict preference.
And if the police don't take off all your gear?
Yeah, we don't want to get our gear confiscated by the police. That wouldn't help our long-term plans very much.
Free parties are fun, house parties are fun. I don't know how we build something necessarily if we're not all putting in at a certain level, you know. That's for me. Maybe a rainbow gathering or something, free rainbow gathering, that might work as a free experience. But the minute you have to have a sound system, someone's paying for it. There's always someone paying, you know, and unless there's some rich guy and girl who decide that this is what they want to do and they share their money, awesome, thanks, you know. But it's not going to happen without it. That's, you know. So I think we need to be realistic about it. And it's also when people start talking about underground and mainstream and commercial, and I've been hearing these words for years and years, and it drives me nuts. And people get scared about talking about money. Like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just an energy exchange, you know. And if we're open and honest about it and not greedy, but fair, then there's no reason why we can't live in abundance without the money, but also with it and utilize it in the correct way. So
I suppose at the end of the day, it's about, like you said, it's about passion rather than money. Money is just a facilitator, but if the passion's there, that makes a good party, right?
Absolutely. I mean, again, most of the artists I know, they'll play at festivals because they want to play there. They're not going because, oh, okay, I need to get paid, you know. And the joke always is, you don't pay me to play at a festival. You pay me to travel. You know? but even then, I know most artists they just want to play. They want people to hear their music, you know.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hi there. Can I just add to what the guy at the front said about free parties? I'm a free party advocate, and I'm certainly a consciousness event like this advocate. And the difference is that free parties usually work against the law, but here we work with the law in consciousness. So there's the difference, really, is that you can't be anti-something. You've got to find a way to work with the law, to live consciously as we all want to. Because I love both. Believe me, I go to French Tech, I go to Boom, many festivals, but this is beautiful, and the free parties aren't actually sustainable. But what they're aiming for here is a sustainable reality. So there's the difference, in my opinion.
I can have probably had something on this note before the next question arises. Is for us at Boom, we like to subvert the law. And one good example here is all the sustainable projects you are seeing all around the Boom site. For instance, there is no law in Portugal against or pro compost toilets. But we are doing it, and we have all the scientific data coming from here, and we put all the shit and all the compost from the toilets in all the beautiful gardens you see around. And when the guys from the law, they come to make inspections, all the data is so better than whatever they want to see, because normally they take everything from the toilets to put all the water with full of chemicals, and for them that is the law, but for us is against the nature, so it's not good for no one. And another example is a water treatment plant. that with the law in Portugal you are not allowed to do it, but with all the scientific data we have with how the plants are doing their work and how the water is getting clean, nothing can do it. So in a way, all these kind of events, we can also subvert the law. So the antagonist culture of free parties is amazing, and we all love it. I mean, there is no one here that didn't went to free parties, and we are all influenced by it. But also it's good that we use this opportunity to have this large-scale event to kind of subvert the status quo. So I think we are doing it in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I've got a question. I've got two questions, really. So first for the boom guy, Artur. When we spoke just a minute ago about purchasing the land that Boom exists on, I wanted to ask you if you would consider the idea of organising that legally as a cooperative so that it can be democratically managed by the people that come here. Second question is quite brief. I just wanted to know about from Steve and Regan about what they think about how Psytrance and political activism interact, which they mentioned a bit of, but I'd be interested in some elaboration as to what this scene's role should be in terms of political activism and changing the world in that way.
Yeah, we did touch on that earlier. I think there's certainly, I'm just going to refer back as an example to South Africa. There, I think we could be a lot more political, but maybe because of our history, we've kind of avoided it the last 20 years because we had enough for a while. But there's definitely space to use these forums, these gatherings to communicate messages. What that message necessarily has to be, I don't think has to be set in stone. I think for me, Boom's the pinnacle of that. I really think they're sending all the right messages. It's not about being political, and as you said, rather being subversive and doing things properly, how we believe it should be done, and creating that better world that way, rather than, okay, this is our memorandum and we're going to go force the politicians and ask them to change the world. No, we're going to change the world right here. We're going to take it home and we're going to change it there, and eventually our community is going to be so big that critical mass, and we're going to take over. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I've always hoped, dreamed for.
Yeah, I think speaking purely from the point of view of the music, the best thing we can do as music creators is provide the soundtrack and the motivational empowerment that will give people the energy to do what they feel they need to do in order to pursue rightful causes. And also we can obviously involve ourselves in benefit events if something necessary comes up. But the main thing is providing a motivation, providing energy. Music is a great energy generator. It generates energy inside, in the chakras and all over, and through a full aura. And that's the best thing we can do, I think.
About the Boomland, and just one previous note, the panel is more about Psytrance culture, not about Boom or the Boomland, but we can also talk about it. The Boom as a group of people is very much social oriented. There is very high standards and strict standards of consensus-based decision making. For instance, everything that Boom generates is to be applied on Boom itself, is not to generate profits or whatever. And one of the things that for sure the Boomland in itself is to be made as an association of a lot of people. So it's going to be for sure based on a social status. Whatever happens here is for the people. It's not for individuals. Everything is for the people. Everything is for projects. Everything is for like creative platform. So we just, as an organization, we have to take care of some bureaucratic and responsibilities, but everything that arises here is to be applied here. More questions?
So I'm wondering what you think is next level for Psytrance music. For the past 20 years, it's been the same kick bass patterns and drums. And, I mean, other than being able to fit more data without our computers crapping out, it hasn't really changed that much. So Like, do you think there's some kind of new form of media that has like a higher level of interactivity with the people that's coming?
You should know. I don't know. I mean, I think in terms of Psytrance, it's open to interpretation. Every artist can, interpret it how they want. There are definitely norms that have crept in over the years, but there's definitely changes all the time. I'm not sure about. I don't feel like I know enough about what you're talking about right now in terms of another media form. But I think when this panel was first proposed, I think the title was Psychedelic Music as opposed to Psytrance, and I saw them, we had the questions were sent to us, okay, we're going to look at these topics, and then suddenly I saw the word Psytrance everywhere. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I think there's more to it than that. There's a lot of amazing psychedelic music that's evident all over this festival, and I think that's where the gaps are as well. There's amazing people who are doing amazing down-tempo stuff, and you can hear how it's been influenced from the different genres. Yeah, the beats are now different and slower and faster, and I think that's great that there's more and more of that as well. I think what's I was after another artist to come and join this panel. We discussed it, and he wasn't available to do it today. He has been touring America a lot, and he's been doing great things, and I mean, their music's not Psytrance at all. And it would have been really interesting to hear from them how, particularly, and you'll know as well, like the American scene, how there's amazing scene for psychedelic music, but the Psytrance is a small part of some of those lineups, and the other acts are playing amazing, big, glitchy beats, but it's still the same kind of people, the same headspace. And I think that's interesting for me as well, as having dance floors that are amalgamated into that kind of thing. Which, yeah, sorry, okay, this is a trance floor, and that's cool too. I don't think I answered your question, but anyway. Sorry, dude. Yeah, you're going to get me afterwards, I know.
You want to add something on the technology side, for instance? On the
No, I'll just add to that particular thing is really in the slightly wider spectrum of psychedelic dance music, you've got three broad areas. You have Psytrance, you have techno, and chill out, and they're all perfectly represented in this festival with the three stages. And basically, the movement forward with the genre of psychedelic dance music is very much to do with the cross-pollination between these three different genres and the way they interact with each other. And it's a consistently sort of changing, beautiful, organic thing. And it's happening every day, and we love it. And there's plenty of sort of areas to visit that haven't been visited yet, as sound technology sort of improves, new techniques arrive. So it's a very fertile area, and it's got a lot of growth potential in terms of musical creation. Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look around from Extravel to Birds of Prey, Bird of Paradise, Desert Dweller, Steeper, Amon Tobin, all the Psytrance, I mean, psychedelic music is all over the musical spectrum nowadays. Some people don't represent themselves as Psytrance, but one cannot say that Steeper or Amon Tobin are not psychedelic, because they are very psychedelic in their own core essence. Probably more psychedelic than some Psytrance artists that they have their own standard or others. One note on this. If we look back on the history, for instance, we look at Jimi Hendrix. He had the technology of the guitar, and he just take it to another level. Do you see any artists that are using the technology, for instance, like Aphex Twin did in the early 90s? He just uses the technology existing and took it to another level of creativity. Do you think there is any outstanding psychedelic artist, and this question I make to all of you three, that it stands out from the regular creativity mode, as Jimi Hendrix did in the 1960s or Aphex Twin did in the early 90s, for instance? This is a personal taste question.
Well, Jimi Hendrix is my #1 musical influence. And I was very privileged to see him several times live, including twice at a small club where I was sitting 6 foot away from him, and I was completely blitzed for life. And that's probably why I'm here, actually. And now he was absolutely a completely unique phenomenon. You know, he taught me something very special. When I saw him, he wasn't just playing; it wasn't just his fingers. There was a cosmic wind passing through him. It was like I was thinking, God, music does that? Wow! And I mean that, you know, that stayed with me, you know, for many years. So. Yeah, I don't see a Jimi Hendrix figure at the moment, I must say, to be quite honest. Not on that stature, but maybe he's just around the corner, who knows?
There's not enough time to mention. I'm not going to mention names, but I think there's some artists who are pushing the envelope, certainly with their performance, which I think is exciting, adding elements other than a space bar. And there's also artists who I know who are developing their own plugins, and not only for themselves, they're developing these plugins that they're going to start, you know, getting out to the public as well. So from their knowledge, and they're well-known artists as well. So they're using them for performance as well. But the fact that the technology is coming out of our scene from these artists who are really, they're making the music, and now they're figuring out technologies that's going to help them, and then that gets out to everyone. And yes, it makes it easier for anyone to make music, which is definitely a good thing. But I'm all for also, as much as there's great producers out there, as the musicality coming through, you know. I think Boom represents a lot of those kind of artists as well, which is beautiful to see. It's music. After all. And there are a lot of producers out there, not so many at this festival, thank you, but a lot of them who make I would call it psychedelic stuff on the way. And certainly this summer I've seen some amazing acts who are really pushing it psychedelically, which is made me so happy.
Nice. Great. More questions?
I like journey music, I like trance music, I like stuff that's also when I first got into Goa trance, was that the sense of the shamanic journey, you know. I think maybe we've lost a little bit of that, but I feel that it's coming back, to be honest.
I think so. Yeah.
I think we're in a very strong position now. There's a lot of interest in Psytrance now, and there's a lot of interest in psychedelic music, and there's a lot of interest in where it came from. Yeah. And you've also got what's happening now is you've got guys coming up, girls coming up who their parents were listening to Psytrance. You know, we've got this interesting generation coming through now. When we came about, it was whoa, it was for trance, in Psytrance, and you went, wow, what is this? You know, but now, as a genre, this is what the kids grew up on. So to see them now reinterpret that, and the producers are coming through now, there's some really interesting stuff on the way. And certainly this summer, I've seen some amazing acts who are really pushing it psychedelically, which is made me so happy. Nice.
Great. More questions?
Related to actually the opposite he asked. I've been going to parties for more than 10 years. And one thing very strong now in Brazil is the old school. So like exactly listening to the first musics, the first creations, the first hits of the scene. I don't know if in the lineup there is a specific old school set. I didn't see it, so I lost it.
That was yesterday afternoon.
I didn't know who was the DJ because I didn't see it. Well, it's just one in a big festival. So this would be my opinion, what the DJs, the producers think about old school sets. And the other question is about the prejudice with Psytrance DJs, because in Brazil I see lots of them, most of them moving to house, moving what they would call more mature or more techniqued and more sophisticated styles of music. And when I see very few, like for example Tristan, that for 20 years he plays almost the same style and he's a success until now. So just to hear their opinions about this. Please.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more sophisticated than Psytrance. Yeah. To be honest, the amount of time that goes into the productions versus techno and house. Don't get me wrong, I love techno, although there's a lot of techno here, like that takes as long for sure. Extravert must spend weeks on tunes, but I think that's a personal thing. Those guys, I know a lot of DJs who have moved over, and that's maybe they just prefer playing in clubs. They prefer a hotel room than rather coming to a festival. You know, sorry for them. You know, that's maybe they weren't destined for this. And it's totally. I see it all the time, and it's I won't even say it's sad. It's a personal preference, you know, and good luck to them, you know. But yeah, a good example is Tristan. He's dedicated and loves it, and he loves it now more than ever. I saw you in here somewhere, Stan. But and that comes through, you know. Again, the passion. You can see it, you know, when he plays, he's beaming it, and a lot of all the artists here are doing that. I can't think of any artist here who kind of moody and getting up there because, oh, well, got to pay the bills, you know. The retro thing, I think, is interesting, certainly in a historical perspective. It's nice. I was at a festival a couple of weeks ago, and they had a lot of it, like a full day of it. I'm quite future-focused.
Yeah.
You know, that's where techno came from, Joanna Atkins, Detroit techno. It's about the future. It's about the future, moving forward. And yeah, it's great to listen to I still listen to Jimi Hendrix, you know, of course. I listen to the old stuff, but I'm excited about new sounds. I want to know what's going on in the future. So I think there's space for it, for sure, but the focus for me has to be forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that an artist who's really serious about what he's doing follows his inspiration and his muse. That's the number one thing. And I can't hear.
Yeah, for me as well, it's like I think a real artist just evaluate. Yes, there is some that stay all the time in that same wave, but it's like living. You evaluate. You were not the same guy than 10 or 20 years ago. You have evaluate, and music is evaluating. No matter what you do, you will change. And some people will play the old music, and some people will discover it, a new, different way to act and to make it. And I'm really strong about that, actually.
Yeah, and obviously music is a particularly special form of art because it's also a form of communication, and it's a conversation. An artist is having a conversation with people who support him and also the wider public. But I would say, as an artist, you can't let that govern what you do. You have to obviously bear in mind that factor, but you can't let that govern what you do. You have to follow your inspiration and your muse, and otherwise you'll, put it bluntly, you'll just go up your own arse.
More questions?
Perhaps you could comment on the evolution. A few years ago, it felt that music was going in a much darker direction and faster beats, faster BPM. Is it changing what the situation is now? Are we going towards more mellow, lighter beats now, or is it still going to a darker direction?
I'm quite into 137 BPM myself at the moment, but that might change next week.
I think there's a lot of stuff. I was at festival last week, and one artist started at 190 BPMs and finished at 200. And there were some screaming, crying children on the dance floor. But at the same time, there are people who love it, you know. And at the same time, there are also artists who are doing slower stuff. I think there's it's constantly evolving in every direction, and that's beautiful. And I think that's good. Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily one way. Yes, there's been a big wave of the progressive, the 138 BPMs. Everyone suddenly, for whatever reason, I think Beatport's also to blame. But yeah, the darker stuff, even some of the faster, darker stuff seems to getting close to slowing down a little, and I've seen the daytime full-on stuff is kind of picking up a bit and getting more a bit more psychedelic. So there's been this kind of molding going that way, but it's good because everyone's been making the music more psychedelic again, which I think is tantamount to a good dance floor experience. You know, but I don't think it's necessarily one way or the other. I do think we're going to see a wave of melodic coming through very soon, though, because of just as a reaction to all this stuff. And we had that wave a couple of years ago, and that I think it's probably going to come back again soon.
So more melodic in the future, you reckon?
I reckon it's on its way. Just the way things work in cycles, you know. So we've had that reaction of things slowing right down. We've had the things going really fast. We had, you know,
there was a lot of techno sounds in
a lot of
years
techno
ago.
sounds come through as well, you know. But it's certainly, maybe it was 18 years ago where it went over the top with melodic. Every track you got, you kind of got halfway through, it's like, oh my gosh, it's an orchestra coming in here, what's going in? And I hope we don't go back to that, but just a gentle sense of melody, I think, a bit more melody is going to start creeping in, has started creeping, and that's nice to have in the dance floor again. But we've got I think we're in a very good place at the moment, Psytrance, really, especially the last couple of weeks, has shown that there's a lot of good stuff out there, and guys are pushing in all kinds of directions, and it all works together.
Yeah.
You know, so there's good journeys out there, which is great.
It's not a question. It is just I want to share my deep appreciation and love for the work of Steve Hillage and Miquette for the gong. You know, like I was in your first concert in Italy, in Rome, and it was a free concert in 1971 or something, 1972, and was just magical. Was magical in Piazza Navona. And I was there, and you was just blowing out my mind. You know, it still remains one of the best concerts of my life. Thank you. You are really great.
What a beautiful experience to share with such an amazing artist.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know where these glitchy matrix sounds come from that you guys produce. I've had experiences with ayahuasca, for example. You hear what I refer to them as ayahuasca satellites, and I came to the realization, I'm not the only one hearing these sounds, because you hear them in Psytrance and this psychedelic type of music, and I'm just interested to know what your take on those specific sounds are. Where do they come from? What are they? What do they mean, if anything?
Well, we can't deny that the drug experience has influenced a wide spectrum of psychedelic music producers, and affects the way you perceive the world and the way you hear and the way your acoustic imagination works. I think and obviously there's some specific sounds that sort of stick with you and you try and reproduce. But I would say then that once you get into the actual artistry and the craft of making sounds and using your imagination, it's not really a question of drug experiences. You're in a whole sort of area of sort of artistic work, and you can hear these things when you're quite straight as well, because when you get into a musical creation situation, it has an effect on your consciousness that doesn't necessarily require drugs. Hopefully for listening as well.
One more question?
My question refers to the way Psytrance and the term and I suppose some of the music is now coming out into mainstream trance culture. When I was first exposed to Psytrance 10 or 11 years ago, we were all listening to commercial trance. I was about 18 years old. None of my friends would listen to it. You know, I used to get told that Psytrance sounded like it was music made for aliens. Here we are 10 years later, and particularly in the past 2 years, after the end of the progressive boom, we've seen a lot of the more progressive Psy sounds float out into mainstream trance culture, which has naturally evolved as well. There's a few really big commercial trance DJs, people like Simon Patterson and Paul Oakenfold, who now claim to play Psytrance. it's not what I would call psytrance, but it's clearly come from sounds that came from our scene. In the medium to long term, do you think that the word psytrance being used in mainstream trance culture will affect our scene, or are we totally removed from that?
No, we're not removed from that at all. And it's a very good question. Paul Oakenfold did a night at ADE last year. Yeah, no, he did another. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Years ago, in '95, it was huge. Go Trance was a thing that BBC Radio 1 was playing. Everyone, it was there. The problem with that is it's a fad, and it's hip, and for a while, and a couple of artists might do really well, and they'll end up often tailor-making their music for more radio play or that kind of thing, and that is a danger, that the essence for those particular artists might lose their path. I don't think it will necessarily mean a bad thing for us in terms of we're going to have all these people who will be going to other festivals who aren't naturally or like-minded, but at the same time, that's not a bad thing. We all came from somewhere, whether it was people who were metalheads or listening to techno first, and then get the psytrance bug, and then hopefully from that start experiencing the culture that surrounds it. And I think it's good. I think more people is good. If we can switch more people on, great. It is interesting to see these other artists like Simon Patterson, and then it's great to get the exposure. I don't think they're going to be able to run away with it, you know. It is weird seeing them do that. They've just found this new thing, you know. We've been here a while, you know. And the thing is, in a couple of years they'll drop it because it's, you know, whatever, Electro House is going to be back, and then they want to do that because that's the kind of scene they're in.
Yeah.
You know, whereas our scene's more festival based and not so club based. So then they'll drop it, and we'll still be here. You know, we might lose one or two artists who decided that, like the question earlier, you know, well, that's better for me, whatever, prefers the hotel rooms or whatever it is. So it's interesting, but yeah, I like it. You know, give us more people, let's turn them on.
You want to say something, Steve? Yeah. So we have time for one more question.
In a lot of other electronic music scenes, there's not really this whole live act thing. It's basically DJ set, DJ set, DJ set. Do you think in Psytrance has the live act sort of killed the DJ set in a way? Because they are very different things. One is just you playing your own music, and the other is you picking out the best records that are out at the time. So it seems that everyone wants to see a live act, they don't want to see a DJ set, whereas sometimes a DJ set can be just as epic as a live act.
Well, obviously the fundamental basis of dance music is DJs, so that has to stay, you know. The art of DJing is sort of something very special that's grown up, and obviously it flourishes still with Psytrance. With regard to live act, I mean, there's a whole sort of spectrum of how live you go. I mean, obviously Miquette and myself, we're at the kind of live end because we got live keyboards and live guitar. In some cases, it's more a question of a Psytrance artist doing a DJ set entirely of his own material, and that, you know, that's valid as well. You know, Dick Trevor still does fantastic Psytrance DJ sets, you know.
It definitely has changed things. Years ago, there were longer DJ sets. What's great about Boom, we've got long DJ sets, which is awesome. Definitely gives us a chance to do the, you know, journey work. But it definitely has changed since the early days, when DJs were maybe a little bit more prevalent. But I think it's awesome that the artists get even more recognition as an act. And I think also due to the way the music industry, whatever you want to call it, has changed, people aren't the music sales are close to non-existent realistically, and artists can't be making money off just by selling their music. They need to be out there, so it's part of it. But I think the recognition for each individual artist is awesome. But I do love also long DJ sets. I think it's great, and it can be dynamically. It's just a different dynamic. That's why also hopefully you have a good DJ programming in the lineup. We've been very lucky. Like the programming here has been great. And that makes a huge difference as well. How that lineup is structured. When I do festivals in Cape Town as well. I love it because then suddenly it's like doing a DJ set on a longer level. And you're just putting all together these lineups, So I think you can kind of step back and look at that journey as well. But I hear what you're saying.
Good.
I think what's happening in music in this moment is quite magical because basically everything is permitted, and I don't think this has been happening before.
Yeah.
For me, it's magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I can conclude with that note, Miquette. Actually, there is probably in the history of mankind there was never so much technology, so many people making music, and at the same time so many people willing to surpass the boundaries of mind, using whatever technologies, techniques, substance, whatever possible. And at the same time there was never a momentum where so many humans are coming together to large-scale events and having the same spirit of listening to music, experiencing, sharing, and trying to make something together in unison. So we've been talking about how psychedelic music has varied, has evolved throughout the decades with Gong, and it's beautiful that you shared your experience in 1975. Regan talking about how psychedelic music and Goa Trance specifically has been important on the political moment of South Africa, where the apartheid went down and Psytrance was one more weapon to bring people together in the middle of the nature. And at the same time, we've been talking about how festivals like Boom can create this space where we all as mankind can be together and listen to psychedelic music and willing to do something more than just entertainment. So I think we are making history together, we are co-creating together, and everything is possible for the future. And for us as festival and for them as artists, for sure the most important is you, the people, the listeners, the boomers, the audience, and making you happy and you making all of us happy. And together we can keep creating the psychedelic culture of the present and the future. So thank you so much for coming.